going here, guys. We are UConn!
The University of Connecticut is well known in the world of college sports. However, despite its location in the hotbed of high school lacrosse, the UConn men's team has struggled to gain the status one would expect from the state's flagship institution. But it hasn't been from a lack of history or heart. Those with the desire to play have found a way. This is their story.
When the university had their 50th reunion, I jumped at the chance to come back and see my teammates and my friends and have a chance to, play in the game. It was just a wonderful experience.
The 50th anniversary of the lacrosse event was a fantastic event, and the school embraced it. The Alumni Association took us in with open arms.
We had an alumni game, and then there was a reception, and it was a fabulous thing.
I think one of the things that my players experienced was looking at somebody that played in the 60s and knowing that those memories were still so vivid in their minds.
There's a real camaraderie among all those guys.
Real bond, those guys. It was really nice to see, actually.
was
it
great.
was really, really good to see.
It was great.
It made me, realize how much I missed.
Yeah.
Not having that around anymore. And it brought back a lot of good memories of the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
The defining story of UConn men's lacrosse is one of struggle, perseverance, and determination. It has bonded generations of student athletes and created friendships, memories, and opportunities that have continued long after the last whistle. It all started in 1964, when the fastest sport on 2 feet first found traction at the University of Connecticut.
I remember the campus paper had the first article about Connecticut lacrosse going to play its first, game, come out and watch the guys play. And at that time, a lot of the fans were unfamiliar with lacrosse, and they would come and see a bunch of guys hitting each other with sticks, and they loved it.
We had Nate Ozier, who was the head coach, and we had Joe Maroney, who was the assistant coach. And they're two different guys. We had Nate, who was this laid-back, big man, and never really got very excited and never really screamed and yelled. And we had Joe, who broke clipboards and screamed and yelled.
It was like the Marines. He was a drill instructor.
You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody to say anything negative about Nate Ozier. Just a wonderful, wonderful man.
Nate Ozier, simply put, was a great man. He was an absolutely fabulous human being.
And like Steve says, Nate was just this big bear of a guy, laid back, wonderful, wonderful guy. And Joe was just intense. His eyes were like on fire all the time.
At the time, Jim Morgan and Skip Brooks were the two sort of leaders of the team. We knew that they would become the captains, and so they were the main driving force there of, hey guys, we're moving into varsity. And it was a big deal. I'm happy now that I look back on my time there that it was a varsity program. We got our letters, a varsity letter, a varsity sweater. We were inducted into the varsity club, whatever that means, and I'm proud of that.
Being a varsity athlete in the 70s was, I think, quite a bit different than what it is now. First of all, that was the make love not war era. The Vietnam War was at its height. Athletics was kind of, in a way, almost looked down upon. Mm-hmm. It was an era of challenge authority, and being in a regimented kind of thing like a team was just outside of the popular scope of things.
Certainly being an athlete didn't get us any better dates.
No. Any dates.
Oh, come on.
I mean, we were certainly conscious of the fact that we were Division I athletes, and it mattered a great deal to folks that chose UConn that it was a Division I program. It certainly put us in a situation where we were playing great teams every year.
Some of the teams that we played that we probably shouldn't have been playing were Brown and UMass. These were top 20 teams in the country, and they showed us really where we needed to be in order to compete.
Williams,
they expected us to lose to Williams, and we beat them. That was a big deal.
Yeah. We had some really competitive games against Wesleyan and Amherst. Middlebury was a big win. They were very good.
We played Army, we played Harvard, Yale, we played University of Virginia one year, we played Rutgers, we played UMass. We played a lot of teams that were, rated.
Our senior year, when we came so close to beating UMass and Brown, who were nationally ranked teams, I thought, okay, we're finally at the doorstep. And in 1972, I believe it was, a lot of those guys that were freshmen coming in behind us had developed into some fine players and had a great team.
Nate realized he had something going. He had,
Had some decent
he had
players.
some decent players. He had a
And
shot to
that
do better.
camaraderie that you're talking about.
Right. I think when we won some of the early games, we set up the whole season
Yeah.
by beating. If I brought newspaper clippings from all the games and from the school, and some of the clippings are, UConn's got a chance, and the next clipping is they won.
With UConn's most successful season to date under their belt, they were ranked 3rd in New England and received a bid to the national tournament. However, the athletic department declined to send the team and would ultimately concentrate its support on other sports, ignoring the men's lacrosse program and allowing it to spiral downhill.
I saw UConn as a very good Division I program, an established Division I program. And when I arrived there, that was nothing new. That had been the case for a long time. And I fully expected that when I graduated that it would continue as a Division I program. There was no sign that the program was in decline.
Those last couple of years, 82 and 83, they had coaches in just for a year. The program started to sort of unravel.
But I just thought that lacrosse was going to take off at UConn. And it was heartbreaking when in the 80s they decided to disband the team.
When the teams lost its Division I status, that was an absolute shock. It's a big part of the way I think about myself when I think about my years at UConn. And the fact that the Division I program ceased to exist, to me is a little bit like just taking part of your personal history that's important to you and just erasing it.
The University of Connecticut had a Division I men's lacrosse program since the 60s. I entered a program that I believed would have full coaching staff and all the resources that a typical Division I team would have. But it became obvious in the fall of '82 and certainly in the first of my spring seasons in 1983 that this was not the case. And I have to tell you, there are guys that were playing on the Division I men's team who really took the bull by the horns and initiated all the steps that would need to be taken for this team to move forward and still exist as a club team.
Despite the program being discontinued, the desire to play was still alive. And at a much-needed pivotal time in the program's history, several student athletes rose to the challenge.
Guys like Mark Zederberg, Bobby Gannon, Paul Flaxman, Rich Martin, Paul Kwasinski, Keith Simons, of course. I think from our unique challenges, I don't accept no. Because if we did accept no back when we were, university students, there would be no lacrosse team. No, you can't have a field. No, you weren't going to get any funding. No, there's no uniforms. No, there's no helmets. No, there's no transportation to games. You find a way.
And find a way they did. The program was officially reinstated as a club team, organized and funded completely by students.
It worked out. It worked out well. It worked out so well that the popularity of our team grew from the early 80s to the mid 80s. And by 1986, when I graduated, we were 11-1.
We knew it was a club team, but we knew that it was run in the fashion of sort of a varsity club team where you were playing against other organized teams and having an opportunity to play a pretty competitive brand of lacrosse, although we had to fundraise and pay for all of it. Proud to say is that the coach for a couple years, my earliest years, and probably a year or two with Mike before I got there, was Jack McGettrick. Jack McGettrick is a famous coach, Portland alum.
Former All-American.
Former All-American player. And anything that he'd make us do physically, he'd do it right alongside us. And part of the punishment was if he beat any of the players, we'd have to do more laps or more sit-ups or more push-ups or what have you. But he ran a very tough and organized practice. And we beat Bryant 14-1. So that was long before Pressler was over at Bryant. But we played Coast Guard, we played Boston University, Dean Junior College, University of Rhode Island.
Northeastern, BU, BC. You know, and another interesting thing for me about that era, that was the last year that we were able to play on the soccer practice field down by the hockey rink. And what an awesome place to play, you know, with the stand of pine trees back there. And to be right on campus, that you'd get great crowds. People would come down and watch. And, you know, for me, it was a shame when we lost that ability to play on campus.
Despite the players' best efforts, being forced off campus and the years of limited resources and inexperienced leadership took its toll on the club program.
You know, when I arrived at my first practice for the 2002 season, I certainly was surprised by what I saw. You know, we had a great group of guys, very well-meaning individuals, but the resources were so lacking that we literally were the bad news bears of lacrosse. The field we played in was a mud pit. It was shared by everyone in club sports, all the teams. It was off campus. Our jerseys were hand-me-down football practice jerseys. They didn't even say UConn on them. They were just numbers in blue. Our helmet decals were bumper stickers that we cut up and stuck to our helmets. Our coaches were students, graduate students typically, and we carpooled everywhere. There was no buses. I remember a moment my freshman year after practice, Nick Borden, who would ultimately be one of my co-captains, and I were talking just about how disappointed in the state of the program. And I just remember telling him that I'm gonna make this better. And I didn't know exactly how I was gonna do it, but I just knew that this was gonna be my calling while I'm here.
Dave began building relationships with the university and petitioning for additional funding. He was able to secure new team uniforms, matching gloves and helmets, organize buses for away games, and most notably, bring the team back to campus, playing their home games at Sherman Field. The only thing left to do was find a coach willing to take a chance.
In about 2005, when I was approached by Dino Masich, whose son played on the team, and Dino is an extremely accomplished athletic administrator and coach. He's coached in the ACC, he's coached Division I, Division II lacrosse, the head coach of the University of Maryland, University of Baltimore, again, was the senior associate athletic director at UConn. You know, to be honest with you, I think he, as a spectator, was frustrated at what he was seeing, knowing that we had potential. He wanted to get involved, and obviously with his pedigree, I was like, please do. And so Dino really completed our turnaround by, not only did we look the part, we started, the results started to come. We started to win. We became nationally ranked. We beat nationally ranked teams. And so, you know, as proud as I am of the tangible changes I was able to contribute to the UConn men's lacrosse, what Dino did was more significant, in my opinion, because he changed the culture.
Coach Matisich led the Huskies to their first national ranking and put UConn on the map as an elite club program. After stepping down, players and alumni were lucky to find an equally invested and talented coach in Paul Scordato.
What I wanted to do is I wanted to bring some continuity into the program. I wanted to stabilize the program. I wanted to make the program consistent. Philosophy is very, very simple. It's fundamentals. If you're really good at your fundamentals, you're gonna get better at the small things, and if you're really good at the small things, you're gonna win games. Our goals are always to win the league. If you win the league, you get to the playoffs. University of Connecticut's never been to the MCLA playoffs. The players buy into it. They feel that they have some history to write for themselves because UConn has never gone to the playoffs. The 50 years of UConn lacrosse has definitely brought both groups together, and I think both groups now see that there would be a great opportunity here at the University of Connecticut to have a varsity program.
You know, the 50th anniversary really was an opportunity for us to bridge a gap because, you know, we kind of have two groups of alumni. For about half of our years of existence, we were a varsity program. For the other half, we've been a club program. To bridge that gap was extremely important and get everyone in the same room and say, varsity, club, we're one team. And the sooner you get everyone thinking like that, the easier it is to focus on a singular goal.
From the standpoint of going forward, we all are united in believing that one day this program will be reinstated to Division I status.
I'd love to think that there would be a varsity program again at UConn.
Having a truly competitive championship level team has got to be a good thing for the school.
When I watch Duke and Virginia and some of these other teams play, and I see the players out of Connecticut starring for those teams and All-Americans for those teams, they could be right here in Storrs.
Connecticut is a hotbed of exceptional lacrosse players.
Recruiting to the school would be almost a non-issue.
You would need maybe 3 scholarships, if that.
The number of Connecticut-born players who are on these teams that make the Final Four, they're starters on every team. And I just think to myself when I'm sitting in those stands watching it, why isn't UConn one of those Division I teams that's contending for a national title with a bunch of homegrown guys?
There's a lot of great affluent schools that have lacrosse, Harvard, Yale, all the Ivy League schools, Duke, Syracuse, these are all great schools. All of our good student athletes that play lacrosse here in Connecticut are going to these other schools. You know, maybe we could potentially harvest those great student athletes and have them come be enrolled at UConn and also play lacrosse as well.
It would be great for the campus, bringing crowds to campus, bringing people to campus.
You know, the 50th reunion festivities, you know, the team was outstanding.
And I was very, very impressed. I was very impressed by the talent. I was very impressed by the coaching.
I'm so glad that we've come to learn about the club team and what they've done and their accomplishments.
Yeah.
I wish the university was behind it on a varsity level.
They've got a great building block.
Yeah, they do.
They've got a
They
great
really
thing
do.
to start with and make it a really wonderful program. It's there. It's there for the taking.
UConn has had a history as a Division I lacrosse program. The sport has grown tremendously since then. There's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of talent at UConn right now.
In 10 years, we're a varsity program, we are competitive. There's no reason that if we are fully funded and fully invested by the university that we cannot be a national caliber program.
You know, all this is easily doable. Easily doable. And what does it bring to the university? You know, another championship program. Another program that strengthens the university's foundations and brings more interest, brings more viewership, and in fact brings more bright students who wish to attend this university. It's really, now is the time. It's a good time for this. We're certainly hopeful that they see it our way.